Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. And when it was clear that his worry about others was going to take over, once he had all the power, he would try to use that power to get rid of anybody that would go against him. He never hit the table hard. He never walked away angry from a movie set. Redford just looked, then walked away. And once he closed the door, it stayed closed. I learned a lot just by watching people because I used to draw them or make pictures of them, or write about them. For over 60 years, Redford changed American movies without ever yelling. He didn't look for trouble or start fights in public, but there was always something underneath. An actor who knew exactly what he didn't want, who he didn't want. And when the quiet showed up in his movie choices, in the way he moved from one movie to the next, it said more than any words ever could. There were names he never said again, acting he never said was good, and actors who were quietly, forever left behind. The Way We Were, All the President's Men, The Natural, Butch Cassidy, and The Sundance Kid. His movies touched many people. But look close, and you'll find something else. Not just a great performance, but a missing one. Not just a powerful scene, but an empty space where someone else used to be. And when Redford closes the door, it doesn't come with a loud noise. It comes with nothing. No announcements, no's can chances. Just a career-sized hole where a name used to be. It's reporting that gets to the real truth and says, wait a minute, we're hearing this, we're hearing that, but what's really true? You know, and I think we're in that time now. He worked with many famous people, but only a few made it into his trusted group, and even fewer made it out without getting hurt. Here are the 6 actors Robert Redford said no to working with again. Not because they couldn't act, but because they crossed a line he never forgot. Number 1, Deborah Winger. Some creative partnerships are fire and gas. Redford and Winger. That was more like an earthquake you only feel when the dust starts falling. They worked together once. Legal Eagles, 1986. A law movie meant to mix courtroom coolness with romantic feelings. On paper, it looked perfect. 2 great actors, 2 different worlds. But the feeling on set, ice cold. Redford was careful and planned. Winger was exciting, delicate, quiet control. She loved in chaos, and from day one, the bad match showed. She later said in interviews that the working relationship was tense and not the fun kind, the kind that fills a room without anyone talking, the kind that doesn't blow up but eats away. At one point, Winger said she wasn't even told the movie had started filming. Quiet move that she thought was done on purpose. The tension spilled into body language, missed signals, looks that said everything the talking didn't. Redford never fought back in public. He didn't have to. Because once Legal Eagles finished, something became very clear. They'd never worked together again. No follow-up movies, no reunion press tours, no friendly interviews where they looked back and laughed. I was not told the movie was starting. I guess they thought I didn't need to know. Winger's story paints the picture of a mean freeze-out. And Redford, he just disappeared from her career story. One movie, one crash, one silent exit. In a way, their story fits the movie. 2 characters meant to connect, but going around each other with anger and unspoken upset feelings. Only this time, it wasn't made up. Redford had no liking for willed ups and downs, and Winger didn't hold back. That mix made for a movie, but never a partnership. And once Redford walked away, the door didn't just close, it disappeared. Number 2, Barbra Streisand. On paper, they should have worked together. 2 perfectionists, 2 famous people obsessed with storytelling. But in real life, Redford and Streisand weren't partners. They were barely even people working together. The Way We Were was lightning in a bottle. Romantic, political, timeless. But behind the scenes, it was something else completely. Redford had one rule: don't steal attention from the scene. Streisand, she was the scene. She sang it, dressed it, shaped it until it sparkled. And while their chemistry worked on screen, off camera, it left bruises. Redford didn't want to do the movie at first. He thought the character of Hubble was too flat, that it was a role just to help her. He waited, questioned the script, questioned the balance. He's too perfect, no layers. He exists only for her. That's not Aerial Man. But they pushed forward, and he brought layers. He was the man the movie needed. And Streisand, she gave it weight, emotion, greatness, but it came at a cost. Redford reportedly didn't like the way she took control, changing lines, arguing with directors, adjusting her acting until every shot showed her vision. He wanted realness. She wanted perfection. Years later, Redford rarely talked about the movie, never looked back at it, never worked with Streisand on another project. And when the chance for a follow-up came, he said no. Streisand Hasselways looked up to him as an actor, as a man of strong beliefs. But looking up isn't the same as getting along. And Redford hellicked quiet actors, ones who let the work speak. The irony is painful. They made one of the most loved romantic movies of all time. But the real story, two artists fighting in silence, two different instincts crashing behind the camera. There was no warmth, no real connection. It was all on screen. For Redford, that was the end. No harsh words, no public fight, just the unspoken. Decision never to share a set again. Some love stories only work in movies, and this one stayed there. Number 3, Jack Nicholson. They were two legends built from the same time period, shaped by the same counterculture wind. But while one moved toward chaos, the other moved toward control. Redford loved subtlety, silence. He believed the power of acting wasn't in how loud you were. It was in what wasn't said. Nicholson. He lit matches and burned the frame. Their paths crossed early, circling the same roles, same directors, same award seasons, but never once did they share the screen, and that was no accident. Jack brings heat. Redford brings control. They weren't built to breathe the same air. When asked about Nicholson in interviews, Redford kept it short, polite, neutral, but never excited because underneath there was tension, creative, about beliefs, personal. Nicholson stood for the wild card, the unpredictable force who would show up on set and explode into character. Redford, by contrast, was careful, purposeful, focused on structure, story, and space. It wasn't about rivalry, it was about feeling uncomfortable. Redford's world was about honesty, working together, and trust. Nicholson's presence, while magnetic, always threatened to pull attention inward to make the movie orbit him. And then there was Chinatown. Robert Towne originally had Redford in mind. Roman Polanski pushed for Nicholson. The result? A classic. But for Redford, it was the final sign that their styles couldn't work together. I couldn't imagine sharing a scene with Jack. He doesn't share, he owns. They're spected, each other from far away. Redford saw Nicholson's brilliance. He just never wanted Toston next to it, and Nicholson had never chased Redford's approval. He played his roles like jazz music, loud, messy, unforgettable. Two towering figures, one screen apart, and that screen never connected. Number 4, Faye Dunaway. Some actors memorize lines. Faye Dunaway became them. But Redford didn't just need talent. He needed stability. And with Faye, what he got was lightning. Beautiful, scary, unpredictable lightning. Their working together on 3 days of The Condor looked perfect on paper. Two famous people at their best. But behind the camera, things cracked. Not because of ego, but because of energy. Redford came from quiet skill, perfection, doing things over and over, control. Dunaway brought fire, scene to scene. She changed tones, rewrote energy, forced everyone to adapt in real time. He once told a director on set, "With Faye, you have to catch her storm. You don't guide it." The issue wasn't talent, it was stemming. She challenged direction, rewrote emotional beats. Sometimes she'd refuse multiple takes, claiming she'd already given the truth once. Redford, our producer on the movie, wanted order, structure. He'd built a set that ran on clockwork. Dunaway shattered that rhythm. And yet, when the camera rolled, she was magnetic, haunting, unforgettable. The result was undeniable. But the cost, friction, not. Matching up, a movie that flew on screen and nearly broke apart behind it. Redford later called the experience worth it once. She gave brilliance, but brilliance without limits is dangerous. They never worked together again. There was no fight, no press war, just a quiet understanding between two giants. Their styles, while equal in talent, were opposites in nature. For Redford, trust meant being consistent. Faye Dunaway offered genius, but on her own terms. And in Redford's world, the camera may love chaos, but the director doesn't have to. Number 5. Sydney Pollack. Some actors bring chaos, some bring charm. But Sydney Pollack brought something else. A director's mind behind an actor's face. He was more than a co-worker. He was a mirror, which for Redford was both a gift and a curse. They met early. This property is condemned. From that point on, they became inseparable, for better or worse. Pollack directed Redford 7 times. That kind. Of repetition it builds either trust or tension. Redford once said, with Sydney there was no mystery. He saw the seams, he saw the threads, and he never let you hide behind the acting. That was the brilliance of Pollack. He knew how to pull the best out of Redford, even when it meant friction, especially when it meant friction. But there were moments on 3 Days of the Condor on Out of Africa when the working together turned into fighting. Pollack wasn't afraid to override Redford, even when Redford had producing power. He'd re-edit scenes, he'd reshoot endings, he'd demand another take, then another, until the emotional rhythm hit exactly the note he wanted. Redford respected that, but he didn't always love it. Pollack wasn't gentle. He wasn't diplomatic. He treated Redford like a tool, not a star. And Redford, used to subtlety, sometimes got upset at being hammered into place. We didn't argue. We talked it out, sometimes all day. But even when things got hot, they never broke. Because under the tension was something solid, a belief in each other's work, a shared obsession with legacy. They could fight hard. But when the scene was finished, when the cameras stopped rolling, there was no ego, just results. Pollack gave Redford some of his finest acting, and Redford in return gave Pollack something deeper, permanence. No friendship is without friction, and no great partnership survives without heat. Sydney Pollack brought both, and for Redford that heat forged something rare, someone who could challenge him, change him, and still be trusted to return. Number 6. Woody Allen. There are difficult co-workers. And then there's Woody Allen. To the world, Allen might be a brilliant filmmaker, a nervous genius, a legend of indie movies. But to Robert Redford, Allen was a ticking clock, unpredictable, distracted, and worst of all, completely not interested in playing fair. They only crossed paths once professionally. But it was enough. Allen had considered Redford for multiple roles early on. The timing never worked, but by the 1980s, Redford was offered a part that should have been perfect. Smart, charming, understated. Redford turned it down, not because of the script, but because of the director. And that's where it shifted from professional distance to personal coldness. Redford once said quietly but clearly that Allen liked to make actors uncomfortable, but not for art, for control. Allen would rewrite scenes, moments before filming, pull pages, reassign lines. He wanted chaos and expected actors to shape it into sense. Redford wasn't built for chaos. He expected the process, the discipline, the quiet skill of preparation. Allen, he thrived on making things up, uncertainty, imbalance. In his world, acting was pulled out, not earned. When Allen eventually commented on Redford, it was with a smirk. He said, "He's too golden, too neat. I like actors who fall apart." Behind the scenes, Redford had already made up his mind. He didn't mind rejection. He minded insult. Allen's refusal to respect the actor's space, the silence before a scene, the clarity between director and performer was a deal breaker. After that, Redford said no to every approach. every script, every whisper of working together. He didn't announce it. He just disappeared from Alan's radar. And when Redford's own movies, like Ordinary People, The Horse Whisperer, Quiz Show, earned praise, Alan never commented publicly, but privately. Crew members recalled Alan mocking Redford's seriousness, his heroism, calling it propaganda movies. Redford never responded because sometimes silence is louder than a fight. In Hollywood, clashes often happen behind glass, quiet, formal, with a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. But with Woody Allen, Redford didn't need to throw a punch. He just walked away from the table and never sat back down. And that absence, that unspoken rejection, it was permanent. Redford never made enemies for fun. He didn't seek conflict. He avoided the noise, the gossip, the ego-driven chaos that Hollywood feeds on. But when someone broke the unspoken rules, the respect, the preparation, the purpose, he remembered. Some actors he avoided, others he erased. So now it's your turn. Which actor surprised you most? Or which name do you think Redford almost mentioned but didn't? Drop your guess in the comments. And if you want early access to the next Blacklist, like, subscribe, and become a member.